I'd like to call to order the City of Oconomowoc Common Council meeting for Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The recent hurricane has had a huge effect on so many. If we could just take a few moments of silence, the people in North Carolina and many other states are going through some pretty tough times. Just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And Ms. Conan, would you please call roll?
Alderman Altman-Cloth.
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Present.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman Maroney.
Here.
Alderman Douglas.
Here.
Alderman Rozak.
Present.
I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of meeting minutes for September 17th, 2024.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving forward. Without objection, I'd like to bring forth mayoral appointments, number 7A for the Park and Rec Board forward. Or do I have any objections from council?
I do.
Okay.
And I know Julie's been great in the community. My objection is that now we will have two people on the Park and Rec Board that are part of the Friends of Oconomowoc Park and Rec. I just personally feel that that's a little bit of a conflict of interest, and I would hate to see, I would just like to see a little bit of a separation between those two. While,
I know you're making the comments, so if you want to object for that, do I have a second for that objection to bring her forward?
Objecting to moving it forward?
oh, I'm
You're
sorry.
objecting against the
I went way
person.
ahead of you. No, I do not object to moving it forward.
Okay. No problem. If I have no objection to moving it forward, we're going to move forward with the Park and Rec Board. My recommendation to the Park and Rec is Julie Nanke. Julie's here to answer any questions you may have. Julie, if you could come up to the podium, please. And I'll go back to you, and I heard your comments, and if you'd like to start us off, Alderman, that would be great.
Do you want me to repeat it? No, again, I just have, my objection is not to you as a person, it's to the fact that you're on the board for Oconomowoc Park and, or Friends of, oh my gosh, it's been a really long day, I apologize.
That's okay.
Friends of Oconomowoc.
Thanks, Friends of Oconomowoc Park and Trails. And while I know that you don't necessarily, your nonprofit doesn't, benefit financially from the city, there is a little bit of an incentive, for the dog park, for example, there's a percentage, it's a very small percentage, but there is a percentage of monies that are raised for the dog park that you guys do keep. And I do know that you use majority of it for administrative costs, things like that. But I just find it concerning that you will now be the second person from that board coming onto our Park and Rec Board. And I just would I just feel that there should be a separation and that there's no agendas being pushed. Not that you are now, but it's opening that up in the future. And just would like to see a little bit more separation there.
Any other questions or comment? Alderman Mulder.
Are you a board member there or simply a member?
I am a board member.
And how would you respond, I guess, to those comments, not accusations?
Sure. I believe there's most likely a plethora of things that would come up for the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Board that would not be specific to anything that's having to deal with the Friends of Oconomowoc Parks and Trails. So, and I assume there would always be an option if there were something that came to the advisory board, that if it was specific to an objective, a vote specific to Friends of Oconomowoc Parks and Trails, that I would have an option to abstain due to conflict of interest if there was a vote being called for a project that was specific to Friends of Oconomowoc Parks and Trails.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Not only would she be able to abstain, but I think there's enough checks and balances on the board right now that would prevent anything from happening that we would think is nefarious. And I've known Julie for 10 years, and I think she brings great value to the Park and Rec Board.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, it's not her as a person. It's,
No. I think that was well stated, just looking at a policy standpoint. Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually interesting to think. Thanks for putting your name in. We appreciate that. I do think it's an interesting perspective that Alderman Cloth brings up. I'll still vote for you tonight, but I guess I would, because of the nature of the Friends of Economowoc Parks, how many would be too many? 5 members of the board that's also on the board of Economowoc, Friends of Economowoc Park? You know, every single member except the alderman appointees. So I think there's kind of got to be a little bit of us creating that checks and balances. And maybe not with this appointment, but I wouldn't want to see a board, for instance, let's say there was some group that raised money for the police, and all of those people that raised money solely for the police were all on the police commission. I think that could be kind of an issue, and I think we would see that as an issue if it was more than just 1 or 2. I'm okay with this appointment, but I think it was, unique, good comments. And I think we just need to be careful that we don't have an entire board of, friends of one group that raises money for parks.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
And what you're talking about speaks to policy. Obviously, we have no policy at this point.
Yeah.
If that's something we need to look at down the road, then we should look at that down the road.
Well, and the
I
other
talked
thing is,
about that too, I
yeah.
think last year about maybe pulling together more policies for the council on some of these type of issues that come up from time to time. And
well, the issue of a person being on more than 2 committees, city committees, at one time was a feeling that the council has had. I heard that right away when I became mayor in 2020. This is one appointment for the city, the other's a nonprofit. So while they do work together, there is definitely no financial motive for that nonprofit, that's for sure. But I think it does raise a really good point that maybe we need to address at some point. Any other questions or comments or things that you'd like to say, Julie?
Not at this time.
Okay.
thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Altman Cloth,
nay.
Alderman Ellis,
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg,
Aye.
Alderman Mulder,
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper,
Aye.
Alderman Maroney,
Aye.
Alderman Douglas,
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
aye.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the Park and Rec Board. Eric, you've got a great person on board with you now. Okay, we'll move on to some new business. We'll move on to comments and suggestions from citizens. Do we have any comments or suggestions from citizens? I have not received any blue cards. Any comments or suggestions? If you have a comment or suggestion, I need you to fill out a blue card, sir, and then if you can bring it to me. The way it works is we have you come up to the podium. If you can state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes to share your viewpoint on any topic within the city of Oconomowoc. And at that point, it's not a two-way discussion. It's an opportunity for you to share your viewpoint. If you're starting to run past the 3-minute point, I'll just ask you to try to bring your thoughts together into a closing. So we'll wait a second for you to fill that out, and then if one of you guys could bring it up to me, that'd be great. We want to make sure everybody's heard. Thank you. And sir, if you'd like to come up to the podium, please, that would be great. And if you'd please state your name and your address, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Tom Thiele, Thiele, 37875 Atkins Knoll Road in Oconomowoc. And my comment is only because the issue I'm concerned with is coming up on your agenda later on. I don't know whether we'll have an opportunity to speak to it at that time. And if we will, then I don't need to comment now.
No, go ahead, go forward with your comments, please.
Okay. About 6 weeks or so ago, people who live in the area of the village of Summit, where I live, had a failure in their sewer system. The sewer system is provided by the city of Oconomowoc. We pay a fee in terms of using that, and it prevents the the sewage that we otherwise would produce going into septic systems, which some 15 years ago were modified so that our sewage is pumped out, doesn't flow into Silver Lake. The system, which was designed at that point, operated perfectly fine, and then with no warning whatsoever, there was a blockage. And it occurs that when a blockage happens, the grinder pumps that we each have individually at our homes fail. There's no warning. They just try to pump into the blockage, and they stop working, and it cost each of us $4,000 to replace the grinder pumps. We talked at length with your insurance advisor, and we said, this was not a predictable failure, and therefore, they're not recommending that any compensation be provided. And I would like to suggest that a properly designed system should not have failed because we weren't pumping enough sewage through the system, which is what the adjuster led us to believe. So I just offer that as something that hopefully you will consider.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. Do we have any other public comments or comments from people in the audience? Not seeing or hearing any other comments, we'll move on to our new business. Consider act on Resolution 24-R3227, authorizing a budget amendment for the purchase of a new card access system for the Oconomowoc Community Center. Mr. Betcher.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in your packet tonight, you have a resolution to authorize purchase of a new card access system for our community center. This was actually in the budget for 2025. However, recently we've been having lots of issues with it, and to have someone come in and look and repair that would cost us probably a couple $1,000s. So we're looking at moving ahead quicker rather than waiting till January to replace the system, to replace it now so that we can keep operating. So that is the point of this, and I'm hoping we'll pass this resolution to move forward.
Questions or comments from council for Mr. Betcher? Mr. Maroney.
I'm just curious, what is cloud hosting fee? What would that be?
So we had the two different systems. One has a cloud hosting fee, which means it's the access system is housed into a cloud, so like it has to access that to update the software and things like that. The one that we chose is not a cloud system, so we don't have to pay that cloud access fee.
Significantly, it's more for that.
Yeah, and that's an annual fee after the first year.
Mr. Schulpepper.
So is this like an electronic key to get into the building? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so it's basically like our access cards.
Key fob.
Okay.
It's a key fob, so you go up and you swipe. We still have, manual keys as well, but this is for what our system really uses.
So why do we use that as opposed to just the manual keys? I mean, what's the benefit to having
Well,
this
part of it is,
system?
so we have the card access, but then we can also program. So like when we have rentals and things like that, we don't have to pass out a key. We can actually program the building to be open during that time.
So isn't there like mandatory attendance though by city or park and rec employees at these rentals and these events to open up for you and to be there to monitor?
Yeah, but for instance, like if we have a class in the morning that they use our studio, we program the access card or the access system to allow people to come into that class into our studio, even though, because we'll have an instructor there. Otherwise, we'd have to provide an instructor with a key and get those all out, and that's all
Okay.
high maintenance task.
It's like almost $20,000 to have, an electronic key, even though we're still using manual keys, and, I can understand though. So, okay, well, I appreciate the clarification.
Any other comments or questions? Sounds like something needed, but none of us like it. I don't know if that's a fair comment.
It's very convenient,
Yeah.
because even off-site, you can access
Yeah.
the doors. I have it at Parker's Place.
Yeah.
So if somebody calls or somebody's trying to get in or somebody left their key inside, all I need to do is just go onto my phone and open the door for that temporary time period so that they can get in.
So then if this is approved, this will then be removed from the 2025 budget?
Yeah, yeah. And so this comes out of the community center fund. There's currently a balance of $38,000 in that account. So instead of spending that in 2025, we're spending that in 2024.
That was my question.
Makes sense.
Can one more question? Was
Alderman
there any-
Shellpepper.
Was there any plans to add to that reserve next year?
Yeah, so what happens is next year, we were going to not add, we were going to use because each year 15,000 goes into that. So rather than put 15,000 in, we were budgeting to spend this amount in that 2025. So now we will spend that this year, and then that 15,000 will go in. So we'll keep that balance going forward, but that's, basically, it's to keep that count. So there is money there for things like this.
Thanks.
Good question. I'd like to entertain a motion, please. And remember, council, this is a budget amendment.
Rozak, so moved.
Second?
Any further questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Maroney.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Thank you. On to our next item, consider act on resolution 24-R3228, disallowing claims for damages from a sewer backup. Mr.
I'll introduce it, but we have Kevin Freeber here tonight, the manager of our wastewater treatment plant, so if there's any questions. The earlier speaker was correct. They had a blockage in the force main that services their property. We were unaware of that. The blockage did cause their pumps to burn out. We went out there once we were aware of it, cleared it, and we'll look at doing additional work on that line so that this doesn't reoccur. But as submitted to our insurance company, they review it to see if we were at all negligent in our operations of things. This wasn't anything that we knew about in advance, and so because of that, it's their recommendation that we disallow the claim. We've had claims come through before, and when they do review and the city's done everything that we were expected to do, then they do recommend to disallow the claim.
We do have the plaintiff or the gentleman here. If you would like to ask him any questions, you're welcome to ask me and I'll bring them up. Or we also have Mr. Freeber here if you have any further questions. Alderman Mulder.
I have a question for the resident.
Sir, can you come up, please? And thank you for coming.
I appreciate your making time available.
I'm wondering if you submitted this to your personal homeowner's insurance and how they responded?
At this point, we have not, because once you submit, of course, then that affects your insurance rates and all the rest. My suspicion is that if we submit it, less the deductible that we would, of course, have, that they would probably allow some payment for that. But we were hoping that you would give us some consideration of that before we submitted it.
Gotcha, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Rozak.
The disallowance of the claim does not mean that they can't sue the city. It just means it
Correct.
shortens the
Correct.
statute of limitations, and you or your insurance companies can make the decision whether you sue the city for negligence. So this doesn't end necessarily anything. It just shortens the statute of limitations. So if you or your insurance companies feel that we actually did something wrong or were negligent, you'd still have the opportunity to file a lawsuit or file a formal claim. You just have a shortened period of time to do it.
Could I make a comment to that?
Absolutely, go ahead.
We do not claim that the city was negligent in what happened. The problem was that the design of the system, which we paid for when it was installed, was inappropriate for the need, and that is why the system didn't work properly.
Understood.
Understood.
Yep.
Anyway.
Thank you for the clarification, too. Any other comments? Alderman Mulder.
Kevin, would you agree that the system was not properly designed? Was suggested?
The system was properly designed when it was originally put in, but when the Boy Scout camp closed, there was no more, the lack of flow was caused by the Boy Scout camp. So their pumps don't have enough power to push almost a mile for only the 7 or so homes that are on it. When the Boy Scout camp was there was plenty of pressure in that force main to push it.
Thank you. Alderman Spiegelberg.
What about the manufacturer? Can anyone go back on that manufacturer and say it wasn't adequate or it wasn't designed properly?
It was designed properly for when it was put in. It's because of the Boy Scout camp closing was that the pipe is too large now.
Town of Summit.
Alderman,
So if what you're saying, so if it was designed correctly when the Boy Scout camp was there and it was functioning just fine, when Summit knew that the Boy Scout camp was leaving, wouldn't it have been then on Summit to kind of come back to the city and say what we originally purchased is no longer going to work for us? Like, I mean, I guess the way that I'm seeing this, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not on the city that the Boy Scout camp left, it's on Summit to have done their due diligence to make sure that those residents were taken care of. Correct?
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Yeah, it's probably a loaded question. So I'm not trying to point fingers here, but Summit knew what they signed on to, and if the Boy Scout camp was gone, it sounds like it should have been their responsibility to revisit that.
Well, can I make one, I don't think we should ask any more questions about the appropriateness of the system or any negligence, because it could end up in a lawsuit, and all this is a public record. So I think we should avoid any more questions of Kevin as he may be deposed at some future point. That would be my suggestion, that we don't answer any more questions.
I think we have to address it as written and presented to you today.
Agreed.
Thanks, Kevin.
Any other questions or comments, council?
No, I get it, I get it.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
Rozak, so moved.
Second?
Any further comments or questions? Call roll, please.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I'm going to abstain because I know Mr. Thiele very well, and he's a member of my church.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman Maroney.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to staff reports. So we have two large staff reports today, some updates on the Village Green design update and also the boat launch update. So, Mr. Herzog, how are we doing on the boat launch? For Village Green, I mean.
Yep, we'll start with Village Green.
I was like, with the boat launch,
Actually,
it
how's
Boat
changed
launch
a
going
lot.
good.
That's not looking so good, I'm just saying.
It's gonna look worse before it gets better.
Uh,
So yeah, I'm simply trying to update you with kind of some discussion that we've had this past year regarding the Village Green. We went through quite of an effort over the last year on trying to gather a lot of feedback from the community, the council, the interested groups downtown. There was
Can you
lot
bring the
of lot of
microphone
work.
up to you a little bit for the record, please?
Kind of tall.
Twist it up.
Bend at the knees.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, we'll see if that gets any better.
Great.
But, so this is our current layout of the Village Green, a lot of discussion in the past, and I'll try to update you as we did hire MSA to assist us with putting this project together conceptually, and then the intent is to really put this into some type of construction plans in the near future here. So what I want to do is to kind of walk you through this. It's been a collection of effort with city staff and MSA with a lot of the feedback from the community. So really, this is a narrowed down version of a lot of different options. If you remember before, I was trying to present and try to describe some of the could-bes, a lot of opportunity throughout the park that would allow for certain things here. So there's a lot of things. I'm going to walk you through this. They're hidden in here. There's a lot of thought that kind of went into a project like this. It's very unique. It's exciting to do something like this. And I hope that you, can see the level of work and the thought that kind of goes into something like this. This is our basic layout of the park. I'm going to kind of work from the north end here, as this was a big concern that I wanted to address right from the beginning, whether or not we would do anything with the parking lot. A large feedback came back was the parking, although nice, nobody wants to lose a parking spot in our downtown, but for square foot to square foot really had some better use in different locations. So if you notice, you'll see a service drive, if you will, on the north end. So their parking is eliminated on the north end and provided more on Main Street. This is what I was describing before, is I'll call it the bump in. So it's essentially taking 10 stalls and moving it to 7. This is something that I wanted to take advantage of in the park where we were transferring, like 5 to 1 on square footage that I thought was better used for the park itself. And now we have a flex spot and a safer spot on our Main Street, as a lot of our large events like to position their food trucks in the driving lane, which makes it a challenge for some of our movements coming around the corner. So I think this kind of shows the transfer of this parking to the side, this parking, or this building structure right here. Some good feedback with a variety of different things going on there. I'll refer to it more as the entertainment building slash restrooms. So I'll go into greater detail with that. And, just walking around this, there's a number of different little pieces in here that we were able to improve. But in general, what I want to kind of express is what I was looking and what the team was kind of looking for was to maintain as much open space as possible, pushing our vertical restrictive pieces to the perimeter so that we can really accommodate a lot of the major events that we have here and utilize as much green space as we can. I still think there's a little more opportunity. I'm working with our architect right now to really, they're slowly getting the message that I want to really expand this space along I'll call it the east side here. So if you will, I'll kind of walk through this in a counterclockwise way. I've got some 3D modeling, and I want to kind of first address the building. This is something that the team really wanted to give something that's not competing with the band shell, but can still accommodate a lot of the small bands that we've had in our village green over the years, and they most often just operate underneath a 10 by 10 tent. So I think this kind of gives you a really strong character to the building, and a projected roof with some ribs in the middle. There's a lot of options inside of this with the architecture and some of the materials blending together. Some of the iron and the wood and timber mixed with some of the stonework. Really working on the details of the building right now. As you can see, some of the recessed pieces inside the stonework. Working on imagery for that, where we could possibly display some announcements. There could be some advertisement for our concerts and some other community events. And if you'll look on the inside of this piece, this is kind of something we were interested in having a walkthrough. This provides some access to a family bathroom. Also, it might open the door to serving some of your beer tent events through here, working on how we can accommodate some of that. So yeah, it's got a slightly raised step. We're trying to make this the same elevation as the south end of the property, as the German Christmas market, if you remember, starts off on the very south end basically at 0 and has to go to building their floor about 3 or 4 feet high, and that's why the floor takes such a dramatic effort in trying to get that. So can we get this to a minimum effort of lessening the slope, building that floor almost to flush with this platform to expand maybe use of their tent and the event. So this is a little advancement, but the building itself is stretched out. Tried to make a little angle in it to give it some character and also fit in the corner of this property. It's got 6 bathrooms in each, a mechanical room and a family room. So this kind of gives you a general idea. It's a sizable structure with a nice blended, proportionate structure to the front. So I'm going to kind of go through this clockwise here, kind of looking from that corner into the park. You'll see some seating, and I'll kind of talk about that as we go. there's a variety of different options on trying to get this. We're working with manufacturers that are real, trying to get precast concrete pieces. They come in like 6-foot lengths. So this is something that I wanted to take advantage of. I'm not trying to get some crazy architectural thing that we gotta, wait months and months for delivery. So these are readily available, and you have some choices in some of their prefab mods with lighting and some aesthetics on those. So we're kind of positioning some of these to give it some passive protection from just simply driving up into the park. But you'll see them kind of staggered through the park itself. So going to the opposite corner, in the northeast corner of this, you can kind of see some of the boardwalk extension. This was kind of one of our givens, that we wanted to get the similar boardwalk look to come wrap around the corner and maybe marry and complete some of the pergola look that we have on the other piece and bring this on the opposing side. So you can kind of see that structure here with some arch and looking into the lake, again seating, and then you can kind of see the building as it goes around. So now I'm going to look, this was another big corner that I wanted to improve, as it's one of our rain gardens that grows up quite high. It does have like a dog park use. So we wanted to maintain some of that and work in some stepping stones down to the water's edge there. So you can take a look at that. That would be 1 or 2, maybe 3 steps. The water is a little high in this imagery. It's not quite this high, but you can kind of get the idea of what could be right in this area. And really open that up, clean that corner up, and open this area up into the park. It's another angle looking to the west. This area here was, I'm going to call this more of our ingress, egress area that a lot of the events tend to want to load and unload. Some of the events even have the flow going back and forth into the parking lot. So we wanted to leave this a little bit open, but this is a space that we've never been able to use. This again has a big rain garden that has some very tall weeds in it, and wanted to open this up to pull a lot of the public seating character that we have along the boardwalk and extend that for an opportunity right in this corner with some seating and openness right in this. So we may, you might be able to add some of like the picnic tables that we have in Oz Plaza, around this area. They're heavy, but they're movable, things like that. And you can, blend some of that polywood furniture into this area. So that would be kind of looking right down the lane here. So again, we wanted to make this just more of a public seating area. Now I'm going to describe kind of the east line along the building here, as this was some interest. I know I heard from this group and the community was, well, what are we going to do with that, the edge along here, the dumpsters, the stairs. So did meet with the owners of the buildings in this area, and they're cooperative. Wanted to kind of give them some ideas of what could go on here. Not quite sure all of the things, but there was anything from just painting the building to closing up some of the windows they don't use, cleaning up some of the utilities along the building, and completing the building facade itself, possibly looking at enclosing the staircase, as it just has the 4x4 support post right now with debris behind it. So I think that could be closed up and kind of hidden or screened. A lot of good ideas. There's objects out there just from thin metal standing vertical pieces that could blend and work in a building, hide some of the monotony of that building, or just work it in with some paint like we have on some of our other murals. Again, this might be a little close from what I'm really wanting here, but the seating, I'm trying to push it out towards the building as much as possible and try to get some of that passive seating into the park. that we, parks typically have and a lot of the events really flex to use on a daily basis. So this would be looking right from the south, even if you're driving westbound on Wisconsin, you'll be able to pull right around, et cetera, there and look right up the chute of the park, and you'll be able to see the band, or the entertainment building right here, and the park, and, get a really awesome look right up the gut of the park here. And then just looking, I'll call this maybe the gateway of it. Some improvements here. We're looking at relocating the flagpole to be more centered. That was a unanimous piece that we were hearing from people, is to, protect and make this look really nice coming into the entrance way of the park itself. So basically, I got a few other things that I want to go over, but does anybody have any questions on, what we have here?
One thing I want to ask, how much seating can you get in those, I guess I'll call them arcs, those half circles?
Yeah, they come in 6-foot pieces, so it'd be 2 pieces on to make one of those arcs. And you can change radiuses, you could go 18 feet or something, So there's a variety of different looks there. I think we could still work some of those out a little bit.
Just trying to maximize the seating with the space, I guess, is
Yeah,
kind of the
I mean,
idea.
any hindrance we have always kind of conflicts with some of the events, but, for the other 350 days of the year, it'd be nice to provide that, so that's why we were trying to add that where we don't have anything currently.
Alderman Altman-Cloth?
So I see along Wisconsin Avenue, we have the safety, the bowlers. with
Yeah,
the-
those are like 2x4, 2x6 planters.
But then, looking at it from like this angle, and then along Main Street, there's nothing.
So Main Street has parking on that side.
But you're not always guaranteed cars there.
And it will most likely, has always had food trucks in there during the events. So to put anything right up tight in there, I think would conflict with the lines to the food trucks.
Okay, what about like from like where your red arrow is to like maybe like right around there? I mean, isn't that kind of a,
Yeah, we can look
is
at
that
it
kind of a soft spot?
possibly.
Yeah. I mean, I know that was
Those are all very easy things to, take a look at.
definitely would something, would be curious to see, what the chiefs, their thoughts on that side.
Yes, sir.
Another good time to talk?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if anybody
No,
wants
not
to
you.
speak up, we're trying to get some feedback and input from you.
Yeah, you talked about a group that worked on this. Who's the group? It's you and the architect, and who else?
So we meet about once a month with Eric Betcher,
Okay.
Mark Fry, Bob Duffy, Christy Weber.
So I got to be careful what I say then here about all this.
We can
Just
keep,
kidding. Okay, well, let me start out with a couple things. The pergola looks good. Right after our meeting, I talked about doing something good, and I think I sent you some examples of some other pergolas, and that's very similar to what I think is a cool, look there. That's both kind of modern, but also reflective of kind of an older vibe with the wood and the entertainment center. I do like the pergola too on the other side. I think that matches what we have on the boardwalk on the other side. I don't mind the circular seating, but are those concrete? Are they concrete?
yeah, they're like precast concrete.
I mean, over time, those things are just going to deteriorate. Everywhere you have concrete seating, within 10, 15 years, they start to deteriorate. And then you got to rip them out and start over. Yeah,
How do they deteriorate?
we've got concrete.
Weather.
This weather.
Over time, it's weather.
Yeah,
It'll
ice, weather,
deteriorate, the salt, the rain.
just like roads.
Well,
Right.
they're not going to get salt on them.
Well, you don't know that.
They will crack and they will deteriorate, and you'll be replacing them.
I think
Versus,
You have an ice storm,
the
it
goal
gets
is,
in the
the
middle.
goal is to try to have it as
spreads it out.
maintenance-free as possible, and anything we put there is going to have some level of deterioration. I don't know what the right structure is to put there. This is just one option that.
No, no, no.
I think what I'm hearing is maybe we'd like to see some other options too.
Yes.
Well, right, so for instance, downtown, we have the metal seating in some spots. When they rust away or they get crummy, you just pull the bolts off and you put new ones in. These things, if they deteriorate at some point or there's a problem with manufacturing, you're cutting these things out and you're replacing them, and it's very expensive and very costly, time-consuming. I don't dislike them, I just think that over time, the concrete seating will get less use because they'll chip or they'll get busted or, corners will break off and no one's gonna wanna sit on them.
Do these things sit where you could kind of come up with a forklift and just pick them up?
They do
Or
have
are they
pick hole.
actually poured into the
No,
ground?
no, they come precast. They do have pick holes on them,
Okay,
which are just the forklift.
okay.
So
I'm
they-
just trying to figure out the logistics.
So replacing them is picking them up, taking them out.
Yeah.
That's better than having to dig.
That's how you place them.
Well, okay, so that's fine. I mean, it's something you should look at some other options possibly. I honestly, I was a little confused when I first saw it because we approved kind of I thought we approved kind of a conceptual design that had a very different look.
Yeah, it was more
That was kind of more squared off.
Yeah.
Not round. So I don't know. It's a lot of circles. There's a lot more concrete. And these are just my general comments. I'm just one guy in the council, so take it with a grain of salt. But without a central walkway through the middle, all you're gonna have is people walking through the middle and destroying the grass. You're gonna have a path through the
Yeah,
middle of the
we don't
grass.
have one now, and we don't have a path, but
Yeah, we do.
more of a square. You got to go around.
There's no
Go back
path
to
through
that
the
first
middle.
picture, Jason.
Yeah, you got to go,
Yeah, but
you
there's
got to go
paths.
around.
Right, but.
There's no path.
But
There's
but
no-
we've removed all the middle paths with one big green space, and people are just gonna walk through it from the central. When you cross the street and wanna walk to the lake, you're not gonna walk all the way around and to one side or the other, you're gonna walk right through the middle.
Well, they don't do
You
it
see
now, but
you see this in developments all the time, where people, there's actually people that do studies on where people actually walk. People will, when they cross the street to go to the park, or to go to the lake, or to walk around the lake, they're not gonna walk all the way around to the edges. They're gonna walk right through the middle. And you will have a path over time right through the middle that will be beat down. We saw it even with 517. Before we have anything in, people were walking around the one edge. I don't know.
I don't think you can totally prevent that, I mean, even if there was another pathway in there, they're still going to cut through the grass in other cases.
Well, sure, but when you have a central walkway, people will tend to use that walkway if it's not completely out of the mix. I'd love to see what we approved a conceptual plan at one point, at least a more idea, some kind of idea, and this seems like a big divergence from that. That's just
Can we
my
pull that
general
up?
impression.
Can we see what was up?
Let me go over to Alderman Ellis first.
If you can go back to that design, up,
the
right?
design.
Yeah, that one, okay. If I recall, we had a path that would cut through the middle of this from 12 to 14, and
Yeah.
somewhere around 10, there was a circle of some sort. And I really did like that, because as Matt has stated, people are they're gonna walk right through the grass, bottom line. And I think that would be.
Yeah, we had about 4 different options.
I think that would be very, a very good design to at least look at.
And I think-
I thought that was one that we all agreed upon, but I could be wrong.
There wasn't anything that we agreed on in 100%.
Right.
What they tried to do is take all of your input, but also the community's input, and this is what this committee has come up with. And so tonight's a point to say, okay, I like it, I don't like it, I want to switch it around. That's to give this committee more help, so then they can go back and then come up with some modifications as needed. Alderman Mulder.
Well, I'll take the contrarian viewpoint here. I really like it. I think it's a really modern look. I think that it does some of the things that I was looking for, which is pushing concrete out to the edges, so we truly have a green space, not a network of sidewalks. Undoubtedly, there will be people, I don't know what the demand is from walking to that corner down to the lake. I mean, certainly people will do it. I don't think that's a main thoroughfare in the city that's gonna get but people will do it, no doubt. I like that you've pushed all of the hardscape out to the edges. The seating, getting seating over there where there's some shade. It's a very hot spot in the afternoons when we have events there, so I like that you're pushing some seating out there, and it'll take a while for mature trees to get there. But I like the direction of it. I think it gives it a nice big space where we can do more things on grass without being encumbered by a lot of concrete. And the rain ponds really allow us to open up that whole edge. So I know that's always been the plan, to get rid of those. But will there be a catch basin there then to
We'll
handle?
probably still have to maintain something. Might not have to be as big, though.
And I like it. I think you've done a good job.
Alderman
Well,
Spiegelberg?
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I like the plan overall, and I like some of the clean look to it. However, I kind of wish the side of the building and the entertainment structure were a little bit more historical in nature. I don't like the side of the building. I think it's very modern looking.
And this could
I
be
think,
anything.
you know,
This could be anything.
Yeah, it's going to be across
I'm
the
just
street
trying
from
to-
Mann's. We just got
Trying to
that whole
do,
facade done.
trying to
and,
offer
you know.
something that it's not right now.
Yeah, I know, but just because
So,
you're
yeah,
asking for
it could
input
be-
today,
Like I said, it could be a new coat of paint.
yeah. But I'm just saying, because you're asking for input today.
Yep.
That to me is very modern, opposed to the Mann building on the other side of the street, so, but.
Tough to compete with that one.
Alderman Altman Cloth?
Oh, go ahead.
While Alderman Rozak has good comments on the middle part of that, I'm downtown quite a bit, walking, running, whatever. And just seeing how people kind of use the current space, I really see people coming in off of, like Main Street, kind of like where the new little mini band shell is. And if they want to get to the boardwalk, I think they're going to stick to the concrete. Or if they're coming through like this middle spot, like where the flag is, I really think people are going to stick to the concrete. I mean, we're going to get some people that walk across, it's going to happen, but just seeing how people use this space now, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And I actually kind of like the circle because it makes me think of an O, which makes me think of Oconomowoc. But I agree with Alderman Spiegelberg, that side of that building is horrendous. That does not fit in to Oconomowoc at all. And, when Alderman Rozak makes comments like, I was in this big city and they have this cool thing and I'd like to see this incorporated. Sometimes I just want to be like, shh, we're not a big city. But, no, I know you didn't. But the band shell, I think that's great because it has a little flair of like, something new, but I think it complements our current band shell and it's very, it fits in very well. So, yeah, this was a little bit of a shock because this was so different than what, we had kind of
Yeah.
approved.
I just had
I'm just saying, I'm
basic
putting that in
thoughts
quotes,
on
but
that first one.
yeah, but no,
a
I
little
think it
more
looks
detail.
great.
Good job.
Just not that one side
But
of the building.
I want to go through a few more because there are some like good elements that can still be put in place of this. I just want to give you a little perspective with some of the layouts for the events that we'll be entertaining. Assuming we're going to continue with the ones that we have in the past. This is, a past beer garden. So we do 3 events, 3 days a week, or 3 days each time. So we're hosting these guys 9 times during the year. And, really trying to utilize this space. This doesn't demonstrate it very well, but they went a little overboard with putting some of these circles in there. I think this will probably end up being just some concrete, which is, I wasn't getting concerned with all of that detail yet, but my thought here is like being able to allow them to pull their trailer in here, use their beer garden set up here, the lines queue up in this hard surface here, and then the entertainment can be over here. With the size of these bathrooms, we're basically providing, a decent amount of restrooms in here, so the amount of times that porta potties have to be brought in, it might be reduced. So that might be a plus. So in my mind, when I first started this, I wanted to accommodate 3 things up here, and it was going to be the entertainment, the bathrooms, and the band. So I think we're getting real close to that. and being able to do that with all this up here.
I really like what you did with, the different materials of that band area, the brick or the stone,
Yeah,
the
there's
steel and the wood.
lots more good stuff we can
That's
do.
pretty cool.
I'll keep showing this. I know I don't want to take too much time here, but, there's some good thought. I had them lay out German Christmas market. These are the actual tent sizes, and they're 37 booths, I think it is, trying to fit these all on the site. There's some options here, but this is just one of them, to be able to use the circle. And Matt, I mean, this was kind of some of the thought of the circle, is being able to use the whole thing, like, I don't know, maybe farmer's market, or, you're using this whole thing for the event itself and not just the, the day here. But, they serve their beer out of the north side of the tent, and like I was describing, if we build this floor flush with the band shell landing, the possibility of putting a tent inside here and building a tent to attach to this and serving out of the back is a possibility. And then being able to pull their stuff up in the back still. So I'm not saying we can accommodate everything, but I think we're, trying to do something so that we're totally not eliminating an event here and really having some space. And this is why I want to push this stuff out and really use this space. As we all know, the crowds just, eat up some of this real estate in these areas. So that's that. Next, this is actually a park, and Matt, and everybody, this is the concrete pieces that we'll be, kind of proposing. There's other materials for sure. This is in the Dells. This is a park that they just finished. I probably can't zoom in enough, but there's holes on the bottom there. There's different options in what these things can be. Lighting is the one I wanted to kind of show and display here. We're going to struggle with putting vertical pieces in the park to put lighting, but I think lighting is, really nice to add to a park. So these benches could provide kind of the recessed, hidden look to it.
I like that.
So, the street lights are what the street lights are. I think they're the only way to show this image was to brighten it up and to give it some look, but you can get the idea. With the thoughts of putting lighting in each of the seating areas, that kind of gives you the dual purpose there. We've got the lighting already at the boardwalk. The band could have a whole bunch of different things. I think this is a really cool piece. There, LED options in this whole thing could, really do some really nice things into this structure. You can light the ribs inside of it. You can light, if we wanted to think about an O or something inside of it. This is just demonstration, and really lighten up the pieces on the wall itself. Again, this is just looking into the park with the different pieces of lighting.
I really like that down lighting.
Yeah, it gives it a nice feel. I mean,
Warm.
yeah, you get, people like to be out at night but still be able to safely walk. This is just German Christmas lit up. Really lighten this up. And the nice part about these lights is you have controllers, and I don't know if anybody goes to the Village Green to watch the fireworks, but you can shut this all off, because the worst thing to do is watch fireworks underneath other lights, and just being able to see that, I think it would be really cool. So that's I just wanted to update everybody with where we're at with this. The project itself is, getting close to being able to say, hey, this is what we would like to go with some additional comments, review, things like adding sidewalk if we're really interested in putting something straight across. Those are easy things to put in. I just need feedback to incorporate it into the project, or if there's other things, or if you want me to show you other things. I'm still working on a few pieces on this that I want to get narrowed up, and some of the group is still sharing some comments, like I want to add some screening around the traffic signal boxes on the corner here, what vegetation or what we can do to effectively use that. space and, you know, not be in conflict with that. So,
Can I make one? So seeing how I was the only one that actually thought that we needed a central walkway, after listening to everyone and watching what you want to do with it, I withdraw my objection to not having a central walkway. I still think we might get some people walking a lot through the middle, and we create a path, and you have to address that if that ever happens, but, yeah, I'm gonna purposely walk through the middle now, like just run up and
PD
down.
right in the middle.
And anybody that sees them do it, take
Yeah,
a
yeah,
picture.
yeah, arrest me. But I think the way you're setting it up to use that green space makes a lot more sense now that it's like all combined. Also, those the seating, even though I still think the concrete could wear down, if we can remove them and do the lighting underneath, that's huge. That looks cool.
That's what I liked about them.
And
There's
I
a
do
lot
lo-
of flexibility with them.
I do like you said the comment of removing some of these extra circled areas and just creating more of a normal
just
path in
concrete.
some of these spots will also save us a little money, is my guess. And I think if there's too many circles, it'll be kind of, where am I going? So, you know, I also actually originally wrote, I thought the bathrooms are way too big, but if we can avoid putting out porta potties during just regular events, and maybe only needed for the big ones like German Christmas Market, that's huge, because they're ugly.
So this is what it came down to, is when I had this first laid out, we proposed just 3 in each. And then I asked him, I'm like, well, what does it take to get 4, 5? And
Right.
he moved things around, and Alsted's sacrifice was moving a wall 4 feet out. He was able to rotate and just use a trough sink rather than eating up a whole space. So it basically cost 4 feet of more wall, and we got 3 more stalls in each.
Wow.
So I showed it that way, but obviously you can go backwards. You know, you can just do the 3, but my point was, you know, man, we're not shrinking it down enough to put 6 more portos somewhere.
Yeah. Alderman Mulder?
I don't disagree with some of the comments about the wall, that it may not be the right fit, but I like the idea of finishing that wall with more than just a coat of paint. I really like the idea of having that staircase.
Those,
that's gonna
the trash receptacles and other,
Yeah, just
those 2
have that.
pieces for sure.
Yep, have that look like it's a finished piece that was intended there, yep, as you're saying. But I'd like that to have some more architectural interest than just a coat of paint, personally.
Yeah. Well,
Any
I had to
other
se- I had to
comments
sell
from-
it to the owner.
Alderman Shell Pepper?
Yeah, can you go back to just the overhead design, bird's eye view of it? So what piece are we adding by losing the parking to the north there? So what are you had said that there's extra pieces, you know, that we're losing the parking we're gonna get for that. So what are we getting up there by losing the parking?
Well, basically, you're getting the German Christmas market. If we keep the parking lot, we would lose the building. We wouldn't be able to put the building or a building this size in that footprint. If we did, this would be pushed down. The parking lot itself comes down to right about this line here. Cutting the building in half. So that building would have to come south, and then I would lose the ability to get the full German Christmas market tent in there.
As long as they don't get a bigger tent someday.
Do they make a bigger one?
I don't know.
Yeah, so the only reason we're doing it is for the German Christmas market then? For
And
those
to keep
parking-
this structure, like,
You're saying we could still have the structure technically, we just wouldn't be able to fit
it would
the
have to
tent?
be well
Or it'd have
south,
to be
yeah.
a
It would have to be in
changed
a
tent?
different location like that. I feel like you're getting not only the German Christmas market, but you're getting all of the other events to have space to fit.
Okay. I mean, I understand that. I do think, because, you know, you pointed out, number 7, those extra parking spots, we're really not going to get those during most
We don't get them
events.
during the events anyways.
Because-
This parking lot gets shut down.
Well, it has been since, you know, the debacle happening to the north, but prior to that, I mean, that was always open except for German Christmas market.
Not during beer garden.
Not during beer gardens
Yeah,
are closed.
unfortunately, we shut this down, and they use this for the trash
So
dumpster.
it was open 355 days a year.
Correct.
So
Just like
10
the-
days that it wasn't open.
just
So-
like
So now
these-
we're not getting it at all, though. So we're losing that parking completely,
Well-
basically.
We're losing 3 spots.
7 stalls over here.
We were able to add those along there, that you'll be able to use the other 300.
And those are right on a very busy street, whereas in those other stalls were tucked away. They were much safer for families, other people who are trying to use the area. Because right now, we're just being funneled into area by City Hall, basically, right? I mean, that's the only access point for parking downtown.
Other than,
this point.
other than all the other street parking, yeah.
So, I mean, I understand the, it seems like the majority likes, the larger bulky, secondary band shell. I'm not opposed to it. It's nice having something there. I think it's a little bulky. It's adding a lot of structure and mass down to what was an open, pretty nice area. We're adding all these large concrete benches. So the other piece that I had a question about was number 8. So are we going to be able to utilize that in a way that can be used for the winter for ice skating? Because that's a spot that a lot of ice skating's happening right now.
I believe so.
So I'd like to
Yeah.
see some, adaptation or ability to use that.
Yep, that was some good thought, that you could have 2 access points or just one. We would have some, it'd be more lit down here to skate. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
And then the last, well, I guess you kind of mentioned, but by number 16, there's all the dumpsters there. So you're saying that's going to be gone now?
No, we
What's
would
going to
just-
happen? Because we're
I
going
would
to have all
propose-
this seating right by the smelly dumpsters.
I would propose just rebuilding this enclosure and keeping the current dumpsters.
Okay. I mean, so that's just something I think to consider with all the seating right there. It is next to a area where there's a lot of trash and liquids being spilt and leaked
Fortunately,
out.
it's so tight down here, it's gonna be close to something. Or
And then with
someone.
number 15, we have usually we have food truck kind of cart or trucks down there as well during events.
We have-
And I
yeah,
didn't
we
really
have
see
one
that
right-
depicted in some of your illustrations of,
So the one that, one event they do have it on is usually Fall Fest, and that's when we shut down Wisconsin Avenue.
I thought even for the German Christmas market and other events that I've seen.
German Christmas market did, because I remember the almonds.
I
Roasted
can't forget
nuts.
those, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. You're right,
Maybe we
James.
can, yeah.
We do, yeah.
So does that mean that will not be an option then, basically, under these? Are we gonna just, you'll find
I don't know
bigger
what would
spots for them,
change to
or-
prevent them from not being there. This could still be an option. We could discuss this with the chief to see if this is still, a safe place to put a setup like that. Or when is it safe? Or can we just get them all to stay on this side?
Okay,
Other
that was
questions?
all my comments.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your hard work. We appreciate it.
Oh, actually, sorry, last one, Mayor, was that hopefully we can see the other renderings and conceptions that we had worked with. I know there was 4, but I thought there was one we had really honed in on. So it'd be good to see that again. And I
Okay.
guess that
Do you
was-
want it by email on Friday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can
Okay.
find it again.
No, we
yeah.
can just send it to you on Friday and send this document. That way you have it for reference. Great, yeah. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next staff report, which is a boat launch update by Mr. Betcher.
And this one's going to be the longer of the 2 reports, so be ready.
I'll try and keep it at under an hour here.
Oh, it's done.
Wow.
Only 60 slides.
We'll be out of here by 22.
All right, so I just wanted to kind of give a update of where we're at with the current boat launch project.
We'd like the left one, Eric.
Okay.
We were promised.
Don't you
That's the one we're going with.
Before, after, so. You're not getting the left one. It may look like the left one right now, but we're getting there. So first off, thanks to everybody who helped out with getting boats off of the lake. I know that was the biggest undertaking to try and get everyone off the lake early this year. It wasn't for a lack of signage or letters going out. I think we accomplished it. I know Alderman Pepper, I saw you down there. You were getting your jet skis off, and hopefully everyone's gotten off the lake. So it's been a heck of a September. So the project began at the beginning of September with the site prep and demolition of the existing structures. Obviously, we've been working real hard for the removal of boats, lifts, and piers. Last week, we had our police boat go around, and there were 56 boats remaining on the lake as of September 25th. So when you think of close to 400 boats out there, to be down to 56 is pretty good. We did have 45 spots that week scheduled for removal, so we were really close to having everyone scheduled to be removed as well. So if you still have your boat out there, today was the last day to get it off the lake, so tomorrow it is officially closed. Kind of things coming up for October. We already started dredging in September. This has been quite the task. Looks like a lot of mud down there. We're going to expand that footprint over the next couple weeks and really focus in on the dredging for the next couple weeks. October, we're looking at dredging over 1,300 cubic yards in the marina area. Right now, we are dredging the materials and we have sampled it. And right now, we're waiting kind of to see where we're going to dispose of these, dispose of the spoils. So there's a couple different options. We have potential land spread, fill and cover with clean fill, and disposal at a landfill. We did get the test results back, and it is a low hazard material, but we're still waiting for the DNR to tell us whether we can land spread that or not. But right now, we are currently bringing those dredging materials over to the 2nd Street Yard disposal site. That's one of 2 that we had originally set up. So that does give us time, and it allows us to continue to move forward with the project. So we were hoping to have dredging done by the end of this next week, but we're probably going to go another week or 2 into that, and then we'll start into the rest of the project. So we're still kind of on the same timeline. You know, we started September 3rd all the way through October. October 2nd through November 1st, we're really looking at starting to get more of the construction. So that's where you're going to see more of the concrete coming in. We're going to be looking at, you know, getting the launch itself poured, starting to create the sheet wall along the lake, and then work towards the construction of all the infrastructure. So that'll happen, and we're hoping to wrap up construction this winter if everything goes well. December 12th, if we can work that long, we will. And then things will pick up again in April with the plan of hopefully opening the launch back up on May 1st, and then a tentative final completion date of May 22nd. So that is kind of where we are currently at. And with that, I'll answer any questions you have.
Questions or comments from council? Thank you for the update. Alderman Altman-Cloth?
What if someone doesn't have their boat off by the 2nd? What's the game plan?
So they're stuck. They got to have it frozen in? No. Right now, we'll find out tomorrow. We're going to have the police go out and see if there's anybody still left out there. We're working with our contractor too. There might be some opportunity to still have that launch opened from time to time. But hopefully everyone has their stuff off. We're looking at some of the contractors. I know we've reached out to them to see if there's anyone left that needs to remove piers and lifts to put them up. That's something we can work with Yankee, our contractor, to see if they can help them with that. They might be able to lift or put their vehicle in to help with that. The biggest goal was to make sure the majority of people got off the lake.
Other questions or comments from council? Thank you, Mr. Betcher. We appreciate it. And also Jason Herzog. I know you guys are teaming up on that project, so thank you both very much. All right, I'd like to move on. Do we have any reports or comments from aldermen? Seeing none, there are no reports or comments from the mayor. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.